What's up, it's Ozzy from Review Hub, and I already went over all the number one rap songs of the year 2011. So with the new age of streaming and the internet, music has become available for everyone to create it and consume it. So today I'm gonna go over every number one rap album starting from the beginning of the year until the end of the year. And for this list, I will be using the Billboard charts and only go over the number one album. So starting off the year, we have the album release the year prior, Recovery by Eminem, released June 18, 2010, being his 7th studio album and was the number one collectively for over 15 weeks last year, and again starts the year off as number one. The singles released in order are Not Afraid, Love the Way You Lie, No Love, and Spacebound. I'm Not Afraid and Love the Way You Lie performed best commercially, with both hitting number one on the Billboard Rap 100. Originally going to be released as Relapse 2, a sequel to his last project, but then changed to Recovery. The album title Recovery inspired and reflecting Eminem's real-life plights, with M telling Billboard this album is for, quote, to anyone who's in a dark place trying to get out. M previously facing drug addiction and recently becoming sober between the last album to this one, so hence Eminem's going through, quote, recovery. The album debuting at number one with first week sales of 741,000 copies. Critically, this album has really positive reviews, with outlets like AllMusic saying, quote, he hasn't sounded this unfiltered and proud since the Marshall Mathers LP, and Rolling Stone giving it an A-, praising Eminem's lyrical ability. Recovery got a ton of rewards like a Grammy for Best Rap Album and Best Album from Rolling Stone. Lil Wayne and Rihanna stand out star-wise on this project. Again, Eminem, the commercial monster, tops the chart June 8th till January 22nd. Next on the charts, we have the debut studio album Pink Friday by Nicki Minaj, released November 22nd, 2010. The album has a top-tier group of artists featured on it, like Rihanna, Drake, will.i.am, Kanye West, and Eminem. The album had 8 whole singles in order are Your Love, Check It Out, Right Through Me, Moment for Life, Super Bass, Did It On Them, Girls Fall Like Dominoes, and Fly, with Super Bass being an international hit and Moment for Life featuring Drake both being a successful singles. Nicki has said in interviews, quote, I made a conscious decision to try to tone down the sexiness. I want people, especially young girls, to know that in life, nothing is going to be based on sex appeal. You've got to have something else to go with that. Quote, this album received a positive reception, with Entertainment Weekly praising her for, quote, her knack for melody, boasting lyrics, and end quote. Commercially, this album peaked at number 2 first week and sold 375,000 copies in its first week. This album was number one album from January 22nd till March 5th. Then Eminem has a number one album from March 5th to March 19th. Then for the week of March 19th, Nicki gets the number one spot again. After that, we have Lasers by Lupe Fiasco, released March 7, 2011 as his third studio album. This album had 4 singles released in order are The Show Goes On, Word I Never Said, Out of My Head, and I Don't Wanna Care Right Now, with Out of My Head featuring Trey Songz being the commercially popular song, Laser being a backronym for Love Always Shines Every Time. Lupe released a YouTube video with a manifesto quote, to every man, woman, and child, we want an end to the glamorization of negativity in the media, end quote. Also going to further state, quote, we want an end to the processed culture of exploitation and overconsumption. Lupe also talks about his indifference about his album in a complex interview, stating, quote, I hate this album. A lot of the songs that are on the album, I'm kind of neutral to. Not that I don't like them or that I hate them, it's just that I know the process that went behind it, end quote. Critically, this album received mixed reviews across the board, with Entertainment Weekly giving it an A- and praising its, quote, militant feel. Meanwhile, Pitchfork gave it a 3 out of 10 and commenting, quote, this project is a huge misstep. Lupe Fiasco's new LP simply sounds bad, playing against every single one of his strengths and creating new weaknesses, end quote. Positive or negative reviews aside, this is Lupe's best-selling album, selling 204,000 copies in its first week and staying on the charts from March 26th till April 16th. Next, we have Rolling Papers by Wiz Khalifa, his third studio album released March 29, 2011. Featuring many artists, notably Currency and Too Short. Coming off his last album, Kush and Orange Juice, Wiz won MTV's Hottest Breakout Artist of 2010, just finished signing with Atlantic Records also. The singles in order of release are Black and Yellow, Roll Up, On My Level, The Race, and No Sleep, with Black and Yellow being a runaway hit and becoming the Pittsburgh Steelers anthem. Critically, this album received mixed reviews. On one side, Pitchfork calls it mood music for the mindless, and on the other side, ET Weekly says, quote, it's more jovial than Kid Cudi's Loner Stoner Cuts and more cohesive than Snoop Dogg's recent offerings, end quote. Commercially, this project sold 197,000 copies in its first week and stayed number one from the weeks of April 16th till May 21st. After that, we have the Beastie Boys Hot Sauce Committee Part 2, released as the 8th and final studio album on April 27, 2011. The singles from order are Lee Majors' Come Again, Too many rappers, make some noise, don't play no games that I can't win. The most notable feature being Nas. This album received a lot of critical acclaim and success, with the Rolling Stones saying, quote, "The Beasties sound exactly like themselves, cutting loose without straining to fit anyone else's ideas of relevance," end quote. While the LA Times says, quote, "that their willful chaos continues to charm and mutate so many years on is the big surprise," end quote. Commercially, this album sold 176,000 records in its first week. This album topped at number 1 for the weeks of May 21st. Next, we have the comedian group of the Lonely Island Project, Turtleneck and Chain. The Comedy's Trio's second studio album, released May 10, 2011, features notable guests like Snoop Dogg, Rihanna, Justin Timberlake, and Akon. The singles from order of release are I Just Had Sex, The Creep, We're Back, Mother Lovers, and Jack Sparrow, with I Just Had Sex featuring Akon being the single to take off. Critically receiving positive reviews, with Rolling Stone saying, quote, "SNL's pop parody trio show no signs of running out of impossibly brilliant half jokes," end quote. And the AV Club says, quote, "The Lonely Island understands hip-hop's shallowness on a profound level. It mocks out of love rather than contempt," end quote. This album stayed number 1 for the week of May 28th, before the Beastie Boys take back the number 1 spot for the week of June 4th. Following that, we have a compilation project titled Maybach Music Group Presents Self-Made Volume 1. This album, released May 23rd, features a new crop of M&G rappers like Meek Mill and Wale. This album has notable artists featured on it like Currency, Jadakiss, J. Cole, and French Montana. The singles in order of release are Tupac's Back, Pac-Man, By Any Means, Fitted Cap, I'm a Boss, 600 Benz, and That Way. With Tupac Back being the best performing singles, my bad. This album received generally medium to lukewarm response, with Hip Hop DX saying, quote, "Self-Made Volume 1 isn't bad, but it still comes off more like a mixtape hosted by Best Buy than a true official album," end quote. This album managed staying number 1 from June 11th till June 25th. After that, we have All 6 and 7s by Tech Nine, his 11th studio album, released June 7, 2011. The singles released in order are He's a Mental Giant, Mama Nem, Worldwide Chopper, Love Me Tomorrow, and Am I Psycho, with He's the Mental Giant and Worldwide Choppers having the most success. Tech pulls in some notable features like B.O.B., T-Pain, Kendrick Lamar, Lil Wayne, and Snoop Dogg. This album sold 56,000 copies in its first week. It's received critical acclaim, like Metacritic users giving it a collective average of 8.3, which translates to a universal acclaim. Also, Hip Hop DX has said, quote, "Keeping the listeners intrigued, All 6 and 7 doesn't disappoint as a well-balanced offering," end quote. This album topped the charts for the week of June 25th. Then we have Hell, the sequel EP by Bad Meets Evil, the rap duo of Eminem and Royce da 5'9". It released June 14, 2011, and featured Bruno and Slaughterhouse most notably. The 2 lead singles are Fastlane and Lighters, with Fastlane being the standout, being a reference to their last collaboration, Bad Meets Evil, on the Slim Shady LP. Critically, it received positive reviews, with Double XL saying, "Throughout the 11-track record, M and Royce deliver exactly what their fans have been waiting for a decade," end quote. Also, Hip Hop DX says, quote, "Eminem and Royce da 5'9" are perfectly capable of standing on their own, but it's clear that even after all these years, they inspire something special in each other," end quote. Meanwhile, commercially, it sold 171,000 records in its first week and stayed number 1 from July 2nd till July 16th. Next, we have Finally Famous by Big Sean, releasing his debut studio album, dropping June 28, 2011, having Kanye West serving as executive producer. This album had 3 singles in order are My Last, Marvin and Chardonnay, and Dance, with My Last featuring Chris Brown topping and peaking the Rap 100 charts. This album most notably features artists like Chris Brown, Kanye West, Wiz Khalifa, John Legend, and Lupe Fiasco, critically garnering positive reviews, with the New York Times saying, quote, "Big Sean is a clever but convictionless rapper, full of snappy punchlines that he's clearly impressed with." While Double XL states, quote, "Big Sean is justifiable, basking in his moment on Finally Famous, oozing lyrical flamboyance over lighthearted production," end quote. While commercially, it sold 87,000 copies in its first week and topped number 1 for the week of July 16th, followed by Bad Meets Evil topping the charts again from July 23rd till August 6th. After that, DJ Khaled drops his album, We the Best Forever. His 5th studio album dropped July 19, 2011. Khaled throws in a lot of artists in this album like Drake, Wayne, Ross, T-Pain, Ace Hood, and many more. The singles in order are Welcome to My Hood, I'm On One, It Ain't Over Till It's Over, and Legendary, with I'm On One featuring Drake, Wayne, and Rick Ross performing the best and being a smash hit. Critically, Khaled received positive reviews, and Double XL says DJ Khaled's offering and odes to the grind and getting yours, that he understands how to create those better than most is what makes a DJ Khaled track and album worthwhile, end quote. While Rolling Stone says, quote, "As usual, his Imperial Victory March hip-hop songs are fun and mildly exhausting," end quote. Commercially, this album sold 53,000 albums in its first week, and Khaled stays on the charts for the week of August 6th. And then again, Bad Meets Evil takes back the number one spot from August 13th till August 27th. After that, we have Watch the Throne, a collab album from Jay-Z and Kanye West, released August 8th, 2011, starting off as an EP, but eventually turning into a whole album. Producing 7 singles in order are Ham, Otis, Liftoff, Niggas in Paris, Why I Love You, Gotta Have It, No Church in the Wild, with Otis and Niggas in Paris taking off the most. In an interview, Jay-Z has said this album took a while to make because they had to do everything in person. But critically, this album received really positive reviews, like Rolling Stone saying, quote, "On a record this ambitious, this sonically bold, it's a shame two of music's great storytellers don't extend their gaze beyond their own luxurious lives," end quote. While the LA Times says the two kings prove much more nimble and disciplined, displaying a confidence that suggests they're not going anywhere, end quote. Also, being nominated for a Grammy for Best Rap Album and Best Recording Package. This album sold a total of 436,000. This joint project takes the number one spot from August 27th till September 10th. Next, we have The Game's The Red Album. The Game's fourth studio album released August 23rd, 2011. Before the release of the album, The Game stated he was retiring. But due to contract obligations to Interscope, The Game dropped this album. This album features notable guests like Lil Wayne, Tyler the Creator, Chris Brown, Drake, Rick Ross, Kendrick Lamar, and more. The singles he released are Red Nation and Pot of Gold, with Red Nation featuring Lil Wayne being the standout. Selling 100,000 in its first week, this album received mixed reviews, with Rolling Stone stating that he forgot he even is dropping a fourth project and that he didn't put enough effort in it. But on the other side, AllMusic says, "You've got an obsession-free, almost relatable success that sacrifices none of the man's fire or skill." This album is squished between two huge releases and managed to stay number one for the week of September 10th. After that, we have Lil Wayne's The Carter 4, Wayne's ninth studio album released August 29, 2011, following a heavy delay to the Carter series, due to Wayne not wanting to release a rushed, inferior project, and throwing in Wayne serving jail time. The singles in order are 6 Foot, 7 Foot, John, How to Love, She Will, It's Good, and Mirror, staying number one with 6 Foot, 7 Foot, and How to Love being standout hit singles, with the latter peaking at number 5. Commercially, this album sold 964,000 first week and had a 300,000 downloads on iTunes. This album's notable features are T-Pain, Drake, John Legend, Jadakiss, Nas, Bruno Mars, and more. On the critical side, it received a mixed review, with some saying Wayne is a victim of his own success, while some give positive reviews like Rolling Stone saying, quote, "Wayne knows it's not 2007 anymore, but the high points here prove he's already looking ahead to the future." But Hip Hop DX isn't fond of the Carter 4, saying, quote, "On what is Lil Wayne's ninth studio album, there's very little of the spontaneity," I can't even say that word, spontaneity, whatever it's called, "you would expect from someone whose calling card is not written, unrehearsed, free associative rhymes," end quote. Whatever your opinion on this album is, it topped at number one from September 17th till October 15th. Next, topping the charts, we have Cole World, The Sideline Story. J. Cole's first debut album released September 27, 2011, and haven't started the plats with no features yet, having a guest list with Trey Songz, Drake, Jay-Z, and Missy Elliott. Selling 218,000 units its first week. The single orders are Workout, Can't Get Enough, and Nobody's Perfect, with Workout being the highest charting song. Critically, this project received a lot of positive reviews. Rolling Stone said, quote, "If he evens out the ratio from the hard shit to smart shit, Cole could be great for this album," end quote. Also, Hip Hop DX said J. Cole's debut album has flaws just as others rookie seasons did, but definitely proves that he deserves a prominent spot on the team. Commercially, this sold 218,000 copies his first week, being on the top charts from October 15th till October 29th, then bouncing it back to Lil Wayne's The Carter 4th from October 29th till November 19th. After that, we have Wale with his album Ambition, peaking number one. Wale's second studio album released November 1, 2011, and the singles in order are Chain Music, Bait, Lotus Flower Bomb, Focus, Sabotage, with Lotus Flower Bomb going on to be the most successful. Wale has said about his projects, meaning, quote, "Temporary riches is nothing to forever glory. That's what we're striving for. That's what ambition is," end quote. Commercially, Wale sold 164,000 copies his first week, while critically receiving positive reviews like Double X XL saying, quote, "The sonic mood of Ambition reflects its title and author and proves on the whole far warmer than his debut," end quote. Some notable guests on Wale's album are Meek Mill, Rick Ross, Big Sean, and Miguel, and this album stayed at number one for the week of November 19th. After that, we have Mac Miller's Blue Slide Park, his debut studio album released November 8, 2011. The title of this album being a name off the section of a park in Pittsburgh, selling 145,000 in its first week and had no features on this project. Mac's singles in order are Frick Park Market, Party on 5th Avenue, Up All Night, and Missed Calls, with Frick Park Market being the most successful, peaking at 60. Critically, Miller's project faced lukewarm to negative reviews, with Pitchfork giving it a 1 out of 10 and saying, quote, "Miller's world is a hermetic one, and unless it's one you inhibit, the album holds no appeal," end quote. Meanwhile, Double XL says, quote, "There was opportunity on Blue Slide Park to genuinely capture some real elements of youth, and the album doesn't capitalize on the opportunity," end quote. This project stayed on the charts for the week of November 26th. Ending the year, we have Drake's Take Care, his second studio album released November 15, 2011. The album leaked 9 days earlier and still sold 631,000 copies its first week. Having a long football field with some noticeable artists featured on this project like The Weeknd, Rihanna, Kendrick Lamar, Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, and Birdman. This album's singles in order of release are Marvin's Room, Headlines, Make Me Proud, The Motto, Take Care, HYFR, and Crew Love, with Headlines being a smash hit and peaking at number 1. This album switches to taking a more emotional lyrics and reflecting on his fame and wealth. Critically, many call this Drake's classic album and generally receives critical acclaim, with Pitchfork saying, quote, "Just as its thematic concerns have become richer, so has the music backing them up," end quote. While Rolling Stone says, quote, "It's what Drake does best, collapsing many moods, arrogance, sadness, tenderness, and self-pity into one vast, squish-souled emotion," end quote. Also winning a Grammy for Best Rap Album. This project stayed on the charts from December 3rd till the end of the year, also appearing number 1 sporadically in the year 2012. To sum it up, there was many number 1 albums this year, and many big names dropped projects, thrown in with new artists dropping their debut albums, and many albums came out that are still talked about to this day, like Watch the Throne, Take Care, Rolling Papers, and many more. 2011 was the start of the rampant digital age that allowed so many songs and albums to come out that didn't top the charts. But that doesn't make them any less good and enjoyable. Let me know your favorite song or project. I'm Ozzy from Review Hub, and I'm out.